So it says that the sixth region in the context of Africa in African American relations refers to the African diaspora, which includes people of African descent residing outside the African continent. This concept is recognized by the African Union, emphasizing the significant political, economic, and cultural contributions of this diaspora to Africa's development and global influence. After the dismemberment of U.S. aid, notice how all of this stuff is coming about. Notice how, because of Project 2025 and President Trump and Doge dismantling U.S. aid, all of a sudden we're now hearing this. All of a sudden, we've never heard of this before until our Black American tax dollars that was helping to supplement U.S. aid all of these years, all of these people, even white farmers, were benefiting off of our contributions as foundational Black Americans putting in, because we're so lazy, right? We're so lazy, right? But those tax dollars is saying something different, because Black people work, because we got to work. We don't have another option. So all of that tax money that was going to USAID is now all of a sudden you hear all of this Pan-Africanism and multinational solidarity with each other all of a sudden. Man, please. You think somebody's stupid? Woo, I'm on here. I'm saved. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm trying my hardest not to cuss. Because how in the world do you repeat what white supremacy did to you? The Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference. Y'all want to do exactly what the colonizers did to you. You want to do to us what the colonizers has done to you. And leaders are now conspiring. See, this ain't nothing but a scam. Okay, this is a scam. Go over our heads like the colonizers did to them. Leave us out of the conversation. Can you believe that? See, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. And that is the reason why their work over there in the continent of Africa is never done. It's because they're so busy, so concerned about what we are doing over here. I mean, descendants of slaves, okay? Foundational Black Americans, on what we're doing, that they can't even get all of their so-called greatness that they have over us over here in the United States, and yet they can't get the continent together over there. Tensions between their tribes, between their nations, starvation, just killing folks for no reason, mass of people. Sudan, there's a certain part of Sudan right now, they are facing a massive hunger issue because of infighting, wars, turmoil. And then I heard someone say today, I think it was Miss Lady Boulay, who has her own podcast, and she said something very important. And she said this: the white man and the Asian man has to come over there in the last 400 years and show them how to get their own resources from underneath their feet. Then they come over here and they want to call Black people lazy. Well, if we're so lazy, then why is it that we as a Black people, even with all of our issues, we are considered a nation because of the wealth that we bring to this economy here in the United States? Okay? In fact, if it had not been for slaves, the United States would have never been able to establish itself. Because I made a video before, I don't care what type of immigration comes here in the United States, it can never outpace cotton. Okay? You can come and you can you can pull every trick out the hat, and cotton is still there at the end of the day. Because it is what has established this nation to become even more powerful than the nation that they fled from in Britain. They were able to overthrow their own king because of cotton. The most powerful nation on the planet. Do you think that even with all the divisions that we have, we're going to allow somebody to come here into this country that don't even acknowledge us half of the time? And this is the thing about it. Anybody that knows black Americans knows that, even white people, okay, when white politicians run for office, we're the first place they go to talk to black people. They go to the church, right? They go to the black church because they knew that the black church was one of the main platforms that they can communicate to a group of black people that were like-minded, and they understood the importance of policy making, religion, being self-sufficient. So they would go to the church because these people in the church were your professionals. They were your doctors, your lawyers. They was your teachers. They were your business owners. They were your funeral home directors. They was in the church. And that's where the white people would go to, no matter how they felt about us racially. But when African immigrants come here to this nation, they never hardly ever go to the black church. The people that left from your continent centuries ago, you have to learn us just like we have to learn you. You're our guest here in the United States. You are our guest. And then you come into this country and in the poison that they put into the minds of these people that are able to come over here, and to tell them to divide themselves from black people, and that is your ticket to success, until immigration issues come around. When immigration issues come around, then it's a different tone. But this is one way you can communicate with black American peoples, is if you come to the church at least to communicate what you want to do politically. You just don't impose what you want to do without acknowledging a group of folks. That's so disrespectful, but you'll run to other churches because it's predominantly white. Like, unless they went to the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church they would go to more predominantly white churches that had missions over in their home country. That's how they work. Or if they was Catholic, a lot of them are priests. You got to check out my page, Pop-Up Genius on Politics, on YouTube. You got to check out my page. And I talk about how Africa, out of 54 countries on that continent, they only have ownership in only about 16 to 19 of them. Do you hear me? 54 countries. They've allowed the Europeans, the Arabs, the Asians, everybody got a piece of the rock. And all they are left with is between 16 to 19 countries of real actual land ownership. And even with all of that, in 54 countries, their economic overall projection back in 2024, and this was during the third quarter, it was only a little over like 3.5 trillion. Do you want to know what ours was on last year, the third quarter here in the United States for foundational black Americans? Ours was like 5.4 trillion. Do you hear me? And we don't have our own country. We've never gotten reparations. And for you to tack yourself on to our stuff, where we're even trying to create some type of structure where our own ancestors have never been compensated and their heirs have not been compensated. Snake work. That's snake work. For you to not acknowledge all of the great policymakers that we have here in the United States that has opened up doors for you to come here for civil rights. A lot of these people worked during civil rights that are in office now, or they had connections to people in civil rights. A few people that actually acknowledge the Pan-Africanism and the importance of it here in the United States and abroad. There's only a few Africans that understand that message. But in conclusion, 2025 Essence Festival, it was a telling. It was a telling of how we have been disrespected as black Americans in our own country by our own African cousins. Because even how that was handled, how that festival was handled, This is just a foretelling of what this Six Nation propaganda is all about. And my thing that I have a problem with is, I don't have an issue with working alongside our brothers and sisters in the continent. I absolutely love that. We all are like rooting for Captain Ibrahim Traore, because we know that it takes a strong leader to get people collectively working together for success. But my issue that I have with many of the African immigrants that come here to the United States is that they do not want to do the work back home in Africa. And I'm not saying just in Ghana, just in South Africa, just in Nigeria. Okay? You have other underdeveloped nations in Africa that need sufficient electricity, sufficient plumbing systems, roadway systems, railway systems. There's so much that needs to happen. And then to come over here and invest all of your money into Essence Festival, or trying to create these different organizations that keep out Black Americans, but now we're seeing that you're trying to cipher the wealth. Can't speak for anyone else as a foundational Black American person that is born on this soil and came from a lineage of slavery, but I personally could not sign on to being a part of a Six Nation without there being a work and plan where I know that funding is actually going to help to develop nations and not to go into people's pockets, because that has been a problem. And that's the reason why many of these nations are so underdeveloped. It's because Europeans, Asian countries, Arab countries have invested money into Africa, and many times these leaders have pocketed that money, and it has caused conflicts and turmoil. And in over almost 500 years since slavery happened between Africa and the United States, really, to tell you the truth, just up until most recently, they have nothing to show for. Absolutely nothing to show for. And that is the reason why America is so enticing for them to come to. But the competition does not need to be with Black American people over here. If you do well, we applaud you. That's great. That should be making all of us look good, right? There shouldn't be any division between us two groups of people. This is like insanity. There's no other groups of people that come to the United States with a premeditated plan on disassociating themselves with the ethnic group. It makes absolutely no sense. When Chinese come over here, they don't disassociate themselves from other Chinese people. When Indians come over here, they don't disassociate themselves from other Indian people. These people work together. This is a lot. I hope that we all come to some type of conflict resolution, because this is not the dream of our ancestors.